Welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my video. Today we're going to do a next episode on the prepping series and we're going to go into the risk assessment for this video. So again, it might be a little bit boring unless you participate, I think. And so yeah, we're going into step by step. Different ones I've prepared. I think I'm going to do about 5. The first one's very easy, so let's go. Okay, so we are here on the risk assessment. So I have a table here, and the first one is the risk type. So is the medical risk, a general risk, or there are several other types of risks. Then the number, obviously, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the description of the potential risk, probable cause of the risk, potential effect or consequence, then the likelihood and the severity that we discussed, and then the risk score in the previous video, as I mentioned. Then current design controls, prepping, and environmental note. Okay, so the environmental note is what country are you living in, what type of a house do you have, etc., etc. Okay. Okay. So, and I think one thing I haven't mentioned yet, but one of the very critical things of prepping, I think, is medicine. So if you're a person that requires medicine, then it is critical that you have some type of prepping for that. If you need other type of medical care, a ventilator or whatever, or asthma, a pump, or something like that, that is obviously a very critical thing that you need to keep in mind when doing a risk assessment in this case. Okay, so the first risk we did in the previous video as a simple thing, but I'm just going to go over it again. So the description of the risk is a non-venomous insect/spider bite. Probable cause of the risk is bug biting during your sleep, for example. And the potential effect or consequence is that you have an itchy spot on your skin. Likelihood that this happens is very high, so every month. Severity, is very low, so it won't cost you anything. It's just a little bit itchy. You might put a cream on it or whatever. So the risk score is a 1. Current design controls. So for my personal house, we have screens. And generally we sleep under a blanket, and when it's cold you might have a pajama on. So yeah, for prepping purposes you might want to have a sleeping bag, you might want to have bug repellent, and you might want to have a mosquito net, for example. Okay, now environmental note. There's no venomous animals in the Netherlands besides one rare snake and occasionally a tick or a wasp, and it has happened that, for example, a black widow comes in an old car that is shipped over from America, for example, or a banana spider is coming on the bananas or something like that. But generally speaking, we have no venomous insects unless you're allergic. Okay, next one. Non-lethal venomous bite. So a bee sting, for example, or a tick bite left unattended. So obviously tick bite can make you sick, but if you're quick enough, it shouldn't make you sick. So what is the potential effect or consequence? Well, it is swelling, redness, pain, allergic reaction, anaphylactic shock, Lyme disease. Likelihood, it might, obviously depends on what your job is. But in my case, I walk in the forest where there are ticks. We've seen ticks. Sometimes the grass is long, and then definitely there are ticks. But then if they're on your trousers, they're not on your skin, and they don't bite you. But generally speaking, when I go to the woods and walk through tall grass, I'm going to take a shower after in any case because I sweat, and then I check if there is something like that. Severity, is might, because in my case, generally speaking, you don't need anything. You just need to take tweezers or whatever to pull the thing out, or you brush it off if it hasn't bitten you yet. So yeah, generally speaking, it's not an issue, but of course, if you left it unattended, it might be an issue. So the score is a 3. Screen on doors and windows. Check yourself after a walk in the woods or tall grass. Okay. So prepping, tweezers, EpiPen, and bug repellent. It is unlikely in the Netherlands. So environmental note. It is unlikely in the Netherlands, but not uncommon. And yeah. So the other thing we have here, those like hornets. They make a lot of noise, but generally they're quite docile. Okay. I'm trying to get 3. Yeah, 3. So number 3, light dog bite / scratch. So during playing, the dog, pinches you, accidentally, or you're playing with the cat and it scratches you accidentally. Then there's some skin damage, some bleeding, likelihood. Well, it can happen. In my case, obviously but in my case I don't have a dog or a cat, so for me the likelihood that something like that happens is very low. And the severity, if it's just bleeding, I do have I think it's called the DTP shot. For when you go to foreign countries like South Africa or China, you need to have it's I think against rabies and stuff like that. So that one I do have for my travels. And so if I get bitten by a dog or scratched by a cat or whatever, I'm not immediately in need of medical care. But I mean, if you don't have such a shot, it might be that you need to go to the doctor to get a shot. So yeah. And then environmental note, as I said, I don't own any dogs or cats, and I don't come into contact a lot with dogs or cats. So, and I have shots for foreign travel, and that protects me for those types of things. So, okay, 4. And I'm hoping that you're trying to see now a picture of, okay, he says it's not applicable to him, but for example, the last one, I do have cats, or I do have dogs, or something else. So that one is more careful. Oh, I need to do something else there, or I don't know. But I'm hoping that type of thing is getting clear by doing this, and that you're thinking along with what I'm saying. And so, in general, if you have a general medical kit, these 4 couple of things, or the 3 that we've covered now, are not an issue at all. You don't need anything for it, but obviously if you get bitten by a tick, you might want to have a medical case in your car. I think it's always good to have a medical case in your car, but perhaps you haven't got one, and now it's like, oh, maybe I should put a medical pack in my car that at least has tweezers, boo-boo kits, so plasters and some band-aids or whatever. Yeah. So think about your situation when we are going through these points, and then look at what you do or do not yet have, and what you maybe want to add. So the 4th one is a severe dog bite, deep scratches from a cat, for example. Aggressive territorial biting, protecting of food, for example, that is the probable cause of getting bitten. Generally not playfulness. And then, stitches are required. Antibiotics are required. If that is the potential effect or consequence, then obviously that means we needed medical care. So the severity then is a 2, and the likelihood is a 1. Again, for me, because I don't own any dogs and cats, I'm not regularly into contact with dogs and cats. So it is possible, obviously, that something like that happens, but it's not a very high chance. So yeah, I think the current design control as well is I like dogs a lot, but it's just not possible for me with my work, with me traveling a lot, with two small kids to have a dog. It could be, but it's not a nice thing. So I like dogs a lot. I looked at studying behavior a little bit so that I understand. Is a dog happy? Is he afraid? So that helps obviously a little bit in assessing the danger, understanding the do's and the don'ts. I have a DTP injection, as I said. I have bandages, and then we can go to the general practitioner for stitching and medication if required. It's an unlikely scenario for me because I don't own any dogs or cats. Okay, last one for today is number 5. Single car accident at low speed, no airbag deployment. Not paying attention behind the wheel, low bright sun in your eyes, avoiding an accident with pedestrians, bicycles, or an animal, or parking damage. That could be the probable cause of this risk. And obviously, this is something that can happen to anyone at any time. And then the potential effect or consequence is that light vehicle damage, able to continue to drive. That is for insurance-wise. If you can continue to drive, that's quite nice. So then you can also obviously take a safe spot where you park the car if you feel like that's what you should do. And obviously, a potential effect might be, for example, that you have a stiff neck, some bruises or sore hands. If you hold the steering wheel and you hit something, the shock might give you some pain in your hands. Okay. Then the likelihood of something like this happening, it is quite likely. I mean, it can happen to anyone, especially, for example, parking, a little bit of parking damage, or an animal crossing the road or a child crossing the road. It is possible. It is not unthinkable. And severity, because it is a single sided accident, it's a little bit of damage to the vehicle, and then we're not looking so much at medical things, but then we're looking at the cost. So in this case, let's say about €2,500. Well, it's possible, but likely, with a light brush that you stay under that. Painting a car panel generally is something like €600-700 dollars, and so it should be fine. Risk score, therefore, it's a 5. So current design controls is, first of all, do not get distracted while driving. Wear sunglasses or use sun visors, and be aware of your surroundings when you go parking. Okay. Then prepping wise, make sure that you have a safety triangle in your car and know the number of emergency services / your garage. Have a medical kit in the car, have sunglasses in the car, and optionally, it might be, so in the Netherlands, generally we have good lighting on all roads, except if it's a dirt road. But if, for example, you are in a dirt road, you drove into a little ditch or whatever, it might be nice to have flares to make yourself visible. And obviously, a country like, let's say, South Africa or America, they are much, much, much bigger than the Netherlands, and to drive, for example, when we were in America, we drove like 5 hours without seeing anybody. And in the Netherlands, if you drove 5 hours, then you're already in England. So you drove through the sea and everything. I mean, that's how small the country is. I mean, going to the other side of the country is like 2 hours. Going, from the top to the bottom is a little bit more, but from left to right it's like 2 hours. That's it. So it's not a big country. Then environmental note. So, relatively speaking, I do not drive that much. I think about 5,000-6,000 kilometers a year, so that's not too much. And I live in a rural area where there's forests, but obviously there can be a deer that is crossing the road or something like that. And we have a lot of bicycle drivers, let's say, and also we have in our area a little bit of, I cannot say hills because we don't have hills, but Or no, sorry, I can say hills. I cannot say mountains because the Netherlands is flat, very flat, and so yeah. In the part that I live in, we have a little bit of a hill here and there, and so a lot of people on bikes like to come here. A lot of people with cars like to drive here because the environment, the surroundings are very beautiful, and it goes a little bit up and down. So yeah, the chance of something like this happening is possible, but yeah, not not very likely. Um, Also, I'm personally much of the opinion that while driving, don't get distracted. So no phone or anything else. Obviously, music or whatever is fine. But yeah, sometimes the kids are annoying in the car, and then you have to quiet them down, and that might distract you. So there's obviously always something. So this is what I'm going to do for today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understand what we're doing and why we're doing this. And yeah, let's continue on in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.